And joining me now is Shi Davidi, who does a great job covering the Jays. And Shi, this is a team that started off 12-6, but they have scuffled in their last 14 games, going just 5-9. You've been there every single game. What have you noticed in terms of their biggest challenge?
Well, it's really been what it's been throughout the season, is that they haven't hit consistently with runners in scoring position. They're at the bottom of the major leagues hitting with those types of spots. And it's really surprising when you consider the type of offense this is. And it's certainly been a talking point that's followed this team right from opening day onwards, because, you know, the expectation was that they would just bludgeon opponents. It hasn't happened. They've won a lot of close games. Their bullpen has really held up through a lot of leverage. They got key hits at key times, but the past couple of weeks that's dried up a little bit. They had a couple blips in the bullpen, and the inability to continually open up games is what's really caught up with them.
Yeah, you mentioned the blips in the bullpen, Shi, and this is a team that you had mentioned you knew was going to hit, but when they're not hitting, the pitching needs to be there. Now, this bullpen has the worst bullpen ERA in the American League, third worst in all of the majors. How do they shore that up?
I'm not sure that it's at the leverage end of things where, you really need your guys to be good. They've had a few games that have opened up on them, a few outings where things have gotten away that have probably inflated the numbers a bit over a short sample. But, you look at some of the performance that they've gotten from some of their key leverage guys, closer Jordan Romano in particular, despite the blown save earlier this week. He's been tremendous. Tim Meza's been good. Jimmy Garcia's generally been good. Adam Simber's been good. So they've gotten a lot of good performances out of their leverage arms. It's at the back end where they've ended up having to get some those sort of garbage time innings where games have gotten away that have probably led to that number looking worse than it actually is.
Yeah, Jordan Romano has been tremendous out of that bullpen for the Jays, so we want to make sure we give him credit. There are a couple of other arms that have been really good. Kevin Gausman, of course, Alek Manoah. What have you seen from them?
Well, Kevin Gausman has come into a situation where he was having to replace the American League Cy Young Award winner, and you can make the case that the Jays actually upgraded with how good that he's been. The first walks of his first walk of the season came in his last outing, a remarkable stretch where he's been in the zone. He strikes guys out. He's in control of games from start to finish. He's really been everything the Blue Jays could have asked. And with Alek Manoah, there were obviously some questions for a guy coming back into a second season. Will he be able to pick up right where he left off? And he very much has. And you can make the case that he's been, right there behind Gausman in terms of effectiveness for this staff. So they've really been the pillars for this pitching staff so far to this point of the season. And the Blue Jays want them to just continue doing exactly what they've done.
Another big AL East matchup with the Tampa Bay Rays, but coming off of another one where the New York Yankees don't seem to want to lose. A couple of ejections in that game on Tuesday night. Yimi Garcia, who I've never, ever seen show that much emotion before, had to be kind of restrained. He was ejected. Charlie Montoyo was ejected as well. Is this just frustration boiling over, Shi?
Well, I think the Blue Jays would feel that situation was the umpires maybe overreacting to circumstantial evidence and deciding that Jimmy Garcia had thrown at Josh Donaldson in that spot, and in a situation where he clearly isn't going to want to be throwing at anybody, because the Blue Jays had just given up a 3-0 lead, and you don't want to put a go-ahead runner on base there. So that situation spun out of control. Charlie Montoyo ejected an inning later when a pitch up and in to Bo Bichette wasn't addressed by the umpires, and they wondered why. And, I think there certainly was frustration the next day when you saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. break a bat over his leg after chasing a strike three with a runner on base. There was some frustration there, but I think that situation was a little bit different.
Yeah, Yimi Garcia said that he just lost grip on the baseball. You're not going to intentionally hit anybody in a 3-3 game. You mentioned Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with a little bit of frustration there. Listen, it happens to the best of us. But after that 3-home run game against the Yankees, he's scuffled a little bit offensively. Granted, nobody's going to go 4 for 4 every single game. What have you noticed about his approach?
Well, generally it's been good. I think two things to keep in mind with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is that in that 3-home run game, he did have his finger stepped on, opened up for a couple stitches, and he was able to play through it that day, but he still continued grinding through with that. A few days later, he fouled a pitch off his foot, and there was some swelling there that persisted for a while. So he's been banged up a little bit, but I do think that he's one of the guys, several guys, among several on the team, that have really carried that hitting with runners in scoring position, monkey on the back a little bit heavier than most. And, he wants to produce. He wants to be the guy. He hasn't had Teoscar Hernandez until last weekend behind him in the cleanup spot. So it's been a bit difficult. But it was really interesting to hear George Springer after the last game just saying, we've got guys who are trying to hit a 5-run home run with nobody on base, and that we need to just breathe and trust in our approach a little bit. And I think there are a lot of metrics that you can point to and say, oh, the Blue Jays are doing this with runners in scoring position. They're doing that. They need to do more of this. You get the sense that it's really starting with, taking a deep breath, sticking with approach, and not trying to win a game in a single at-bat.
All right, the Blue Jays looking to end a 4-game losing streak. Shi Davidi, as always, thanks so much.